A common path to success in wrestling is to become a super bad guy so you can then become a super good guy, or vice versa. One of the most famous examples of the former is The Rock, and that's kinda true for the other way round too. Remember how mad you were when it turned out he'd screwed you at Survivor Series 1998? What an asshole. It's a tried and true template in the industry, however, and all of that comes down to engagement. When the audience is bought in, you can try and hold them in the palm of your hand and elicit the kind of reaction you want. This only works if you have a shred of decency about you, and let's face it, some guys just come across as such dicks. Even if they came out hugging babies and giving money to charity, you'd still be like, nah, that guy can kiss my ass. It's a natural ability to be as unlikable as possible. In short, I'm Simon from What Culture, and these are 10 individuals who should never turn face. Number 10, Elias. Right now, you could argue that Elias is a good guy. It's certainly how WWE is pitching him, but the dick musician who sings insulting songs about his opponents, that has been heel territory since day one. The Drifter himself has always gone against expectations, though. He barely did anything in NXT, which is why it was such a surprise he got called up to the main roster, but as WWE officials had predicted, the character was far more suited to a Raw and SmackDown audience, and they were right. Within weeks, he was one of the most despised people on Monday nights. He's always been good at taking lemons and turning them into lemonade, but ultimately, I feel like the persona is better at antagonizing audiences with a few choice barbs thrown at them rather than trying to get them on side. Just makes more sense. Plus, Elias shines more when he does that. So do that. Number 9, Minoru Suzuki. The key word when it comes to Minoru Suzuki is respect. Other wrestlers, fans, people that lay eyes on him for the first time, he just demands it, and a large reason for that is because he's been smashing it for 50 years and is a legend. He's earned it, and few seem as legit as he does, and that transfers across to the audience. This doesn't mean he's a good guy though. Again, look at him. He somehow looks evil and like a villain ready to do whatever he has to win. When in the ring, he backs that up too with the psychology that ties into this. He makes no bones about his desire to want to hurt his opponents, and if he's able to break your limbs, he'll be having the best day ever. You don't cheer that guy unless your moral compass is well off. He's designed to be booed and, more importantly, feared. Doesn't mean he won't have his fans, but from a more general standpoint, you don't need to mess with it. This is Suzuki and should be until he decides to retire, and for all we know, that could be the year 3268. Seems unstoppable. Number 8, Triple H. When you look at Triple H's story arc, it's amazing he was ever a face. He achieved it because at times he was a true badass, but he started as a rich blue blood, then became a literal degenerate, and finished it off by aligning himself with the boss's daughter to launch a reign of terror over WWE. That's what the McMahon-Helmsley era was. The game doing whatever he could to stack obstacles up against whoever he was feuding with, and it worked. We revere him today because what he's done with NXT, and rightfully so, but even when you go back to that match against Sting, he won by clonking him in the head with a sledgehammer. That's attempted murder. Then there's the Roman Reigns feud when he got cheered, sure, but he wasn't meant to be the good guy. That was just part of some other madness. The definition of a dude that got over by being a douche and then winning over the audience, we should all be ashamed for supporting him, and I include myself in that because I did and I do. The exception was when he went loco on Randy Orton, but even then, it was mostly because the Viper was a straight up sociopath. The lesser of two evils then. Number 7, Pac. You don't cheer a total bastard, and in Pac's own words, that's what he is. He also seems intent on keeping things that way, which is why when he cuts promos or wrestles, he's just an absolute asshat. Wants to inflict pain and maim. Plus, look at him. He looks like an angry pirate that's about to make you walk the plank and laugh while he's doing it. And sure, while he was Neville and flying around the place, he was easy to cheer, but he seems like a much more well-rounded character now, complete with his unkempt beard. Ever since Roadblock 2016, it feels like Pac found himself, and I don't see a reason to go back. We've barely touched the surface with this too, considering he's still in his infancy with AEW. Let it play out, and there could be a bad guy for life. Number 6, MJF. I honestly hope it never happens. Despite only being 24 years of age, Maxwell Jacob Friedman does such a good job of being an insufferable prick. I want to hate him until the day I die. Don't think I'd ever want to cheer him, so why even bother? And if nothing else, AEW did have him as a pseudo babyface when the company started, and even then you disliked him. I I mean, it wasn't legit as it was building to the turn with Cody, but still, he's one of the best of making you scream at the TV as soon as he gets on the microphone, and every time he cheats to win, you hate him a little bit more. Someone needs to punch him in his dumb face. MJF is also refreshing. Wrestling is more shades of grey than ever these days, which is great, but I don't want all my characters to walk that tightrope. I need at least one to be despicable, and that's Maxwell summed up. He fits this like a glove. When he eventually becomes AEW champion, and he will, I want a Ric Flair type run where no matter what, he holds on to that thing despite never following any of the rules or showing any kind of sportsmanship. A throwback persona with a modern twist, MJF has all the ability to be a top heel forever. Number 5, Charlotte Flair. And talking of the Flair family, the confusing thing with the Queen is that WWE seems to have no clue either. Sometimes she's a face, apparently, then she's a heel, but the whole time she carries herself with so much arrogance, you figure she has to be going for a negative reaction. I mean, she comes out with a robe that looks like she's living in a palace. That's not relatable. Charlotte is also just better as that guy. Her in-ring work speaks more to that side of the fence, and the fact she towers over the whole women's division helps with it too. No one looks like they could even touch her, and she knows it. We do seem to forget how talented the younger Flair is because of who her dad is, and I think that's unfair. Sure, she's overused and less is more, but Charlotte is a top performer and backs it up. Right there, what I just said, that's someone you want to jeer. Number 4, Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is such a heel, I can't even imagine what you would do to switch it. She looks like she would push you into moving traffic, and the former MMA star has reacted so proudly to certain dastardly acts it's unreal. You also know she's a proper badass, so if she wanted, could ruin everyone within seconds. It all comes down to a question of sympathy, and Baszler is too legit to garner that. She also enjoys hurting people, as we've seen when she stomps on people's arms and breaks them. And while I get a sick guilty pleasure out of her character, that doesn't mean she should be portrayed as anything other than what she is, a crazy warrior. Hopefully WWE will start booking her on the main roster like they did on NXT, because that's the person I want to see on Raw. But even then, much like a Brock Lesnar, you can always rely on her background to fire her back into the spotlight at a moment's notice. Number 3, Nia Jax. I would say this would be impossible, but technically that's not true. I actually think Nia Jax's best run was when she was fighting against Alexa Bliss the Bully and won the women's title. I really enjoyed that and liked the message it sent out there. Don't let anybody else talk you down. The problem is, since then, Jax has been tarred with the unfortunate brush of being the person who broke Becky Lynch's face, and ain't no way anybody's getting away with that. The man was the chosen one, even if at the moment she'll be absent for a while. Nia is also a professional troll and has used events like this to wind up the fans so much, I don't think they'd ever accept her in that guise again. Not the worst thing in the world. Jax is one of the few women WWE does have in that monster category, and for years, that was the template for a heel. When you're that physical, you don't usually get cheered. Number 2, The Miz. The Miz has played both sides, mostly because his career has gone on so long. When he was feuding with Shane McMahon, he did a decent job as a good guy, but ultimately it's nothing compared to his villain work, which is a reason he's had the longevity he has had. He's great at it. Even when he was booked in an angle with The Fiend to protect his family, you still weren't totally on his side, and that could all be down to his past. Whether it's his promo work or cheating to win time and time again, The Miz's shib-eating grin has riled many a fan up, and long may it continue. He's also far more entertaining in that role, even more so at the moment he's teamed with John Morrison. It's like the high school jocks and sarcastic so-and-sos that made your life so miserable in your younger days. It's why, as of me talking, they've been booked to fight Braun Strowman in a handicap match at Backlash 2020. No one is gonna mind watching these goofs be chucked around the place. Number 1, Baron Corbin. It's hard to believe it now, but back in NXT, there was a time when Baron Corbin did get a lot of cheers from the WWE Universe. I think it was down to the fact he just didn't give a hoot and doubled down on everything that made his character such an individual to begin with. Remember when he was lauding the fact he never had to work the indie scene because he didn't need it? There was just something about it. Nowadays though, well, you can forget it. From acting like an actual king to retiring Kurt Angle, to also being overexposed by WWE, everybody seems to agree that we hate Corbin now, and that's how it must stay. He's so good at annoying people both on TV and social media, I don't even see how you could reverse it at this stage. Would you forgive him? I don't think so. We could have cemented this if someone had the privilege of shaving his head, but oh well, we'll just have to forget about it. But that still blows my brain. That shot would have lasted forever, and oh, how the fans would have enjoyed it. Know of any other WWE superstars that should never turn heel? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture, and while some people say, Simon, you could never turn heel, don't you worry, I've got a plan, and one day I'm going to execute it.